Hi everyone, I'm Rick Zanotti, and welcome to eMediaChat, where everything's digital. Joining me today is our co-host, Kirsten and Rick. Hey Kirsten, how are you?
Hi Rick, how's it going?
It is going well. So how's your day going today?
Pretty good, pretty good. I don't need George with me today, so it's a good day.
Yeah, George is actually not out. He's still in the fridge, breaking ice in there.
Yes.
For all those who haven't
mascot.
watched the previous show with George on, that's 2 shows ago. You got to watch it. You're not going to find out who George is unless you watch that show. Anyway.
It's our secret.
It's our secret. And George is keeping it well in the fridge.
Yes.
Anyway, good old George.
So leaving that creepy thought,
we
have a wonderful guest today.
We do, and somebody who, well, personally, I haven't known Justin that long in terms of talking with him, but I have known him for probably 5-6 years from his podcasts, from following the work he's done. He is a great podcaster. He is now a staff author at Lynda.com, one of my absolute favorite companies, for just a lot of reasons. They do great work. And Justin's done a lot of great courses for Lynda, and the good work just continues. Well, anyway, let's introduce him without further ado. Justin Seeley. Hey, Justin, how are you?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
We are doing great. Well, Justin isn't too far from us. We're in Camarillo, California. He's up in Carpinteria right now. It's probably about 30 minutes from us.
Right.
And we're having beautiful weather out here. So if you guys all want to come to California as everyone leaves, hey, come on in. It's, we keep the place from actually having an earthquake. So, Justin, how are things at Lynda?
Very good, very good. Very busy, but very good.
You guys crank out so many new courses. I love the aggressive schedule you guys have. There's always new courses coming out.
Yes.
And I just saw one yesterday that was in the newsletter that came out. I had never heard of this product. I think it was Magento Go.
Yeah, Magento Go.
And you did that one. Now that's an e-commerce system, right?
Yes, it is. So it's the consumer-facing version of Magento Community Edition. And so it's basically a hosted service where you can go and start your own online store online and in this hosted environment rather than installing it on your own server.
That's great. I never heard of that one, and which is good because we're thinking of doing something like that. So that's a definite viable. It looked easy.
Yeah, it is absolutely very much easy.
That's pretty good. So you're working in all sorts of different areas. I know I used to watch you during the Photoshop days when you did all the Photoshop. I think you've done Illustrator courses with Lynda, and you're also doing some of the business courses.
Yeah, I do all kinds of stuff. I'm Photoshop, Illustrator, the Adobe Creative Suite. I do some WordPress stuff here, do social media stuff, just wrapped a course on Instagram, and I'm doing all kinds of stuff.
That's great. That's great.
So no ambition at all is what you're telling us.
None whatsoever. No.
Well, one of the things that you and I yesterday just happened to be on Twitter at the same time, and we were talking about the Apple releases, and I thought we could spend a couple minutes talking about some of that stuff and where is Apple going. In the pre-show, we talked a little bit, and we're kind of wondering if Apple's trying to kind of scare away all the pros and slowly but surely make the machines strictly home-based machines, which would be, I don't know, a little short-sighted.
Yeah.
You never know with Apple. Sometimes they do weird things and they work out. Sometimes they do weird things and they don't work out. People forget Apple's had a lot of misses, but they've also had a lot of successes as evidenced by what we see today. But the new iMac was the one that got my attention because, one, nothing new in the Mac Pro.
No.
The Mac Pro just got a little bit smaller, 4 months ago, and nothing added, no Thunderbolt, nothing. They claim next year they're going to make it better, whatever, but
we'll see.
We'll see, and that's a shame because that really is more of a production machine.
Yeah.
I use an iMac at work. I do video editing on it. I also run Windows on it. I do all sorts of stuff with my iMac. So I have a Windows workstation in another room that I used to use all the time. Now I'm almost entirely on the iMac with Windows on it, aside from I use VMware. But what I've noticed is iMacs, I'm a little afraid to leave it on 24/7.
Sure.
Because it gets hot.
Yes, it does. Big time.
Those things run really hot. And, well, Kirsten, you have an iMac too.
Yep.
Do you find it gets hot for you too?
Well, my setup's a little different. It's really far back. I mean, that's why I'm so tiny. It's pretty far away from me.
No, I'm not talking about the front heat. I'm talking about the back heat.
Well, the back, problem is I don't really feel it because of the way the space is set up. It's just, it's more like a projected screen for me. I find my power, my laptop, that thing gets pretty bad. But Jeff is saying that his also heats up pretty bad.
Yeah, let your iMac sit for a few hours and then go touch the back panel.
You could actually make eggs on it.
Yeah, you probably could. It's really, really warm.
I've been scared a couple of times.
I don't really need to touch the back panel very often, but I will try that sometime.
Well, they did something really odd, which is going to force you to get into that back panel on the new ones, which I found really bizarre. Your SD card reader is now in the back.
That is the most ridiculous design decision I have ever seen.
Next to all the connections.
It's ridiculous.
So you're going to be stumbling through wires, trying to get to your card reader, and you just go, what were they thinking?
Yeah, that's not going to work because my setup here, I can't really get to the back without moving things.
Right. Nobody can.
My guess is with Apple, what they're doing is they are changing their entire product line to be sort of a push in the direction of where they want to go consumer electronics wise. So their big thing is, everybody's rumored that they're going to release a TV at some point, right?
They were talking about that yesterday.
Yeah. So that's the big rumor, that they want to do a TV. And in order to do a TV, they need to have stuff in place, like contracts and partners in place with all the studios and people like that, so that they can deliver TV and movies to this big TV. Well, as long as there's still physical media around, they can't push people to the cloud.
Right.
And so they're removing optical drives. They're putting ports and things on the back where you can't get to them easily because they don't want people to use that stuff anymore. They want people to do cloud. They want people to do over-the-air syncing, all that kind of stuff. And I think that is unfortunately why they're doing this. And they're doing it at unfortunately, the consequence of the rest of the pro people who need this stuff. I, for one, would love to have a DVD drive on my machine. I use my DVD drive all the time, whether it's test software I get, if I'm backing something up, and I just feel like they're leaving a lot of us out in the cold.
Well, I mean, you could attach through a USB 3 port a DVD drive, but here's another piece of stuff on your desk that you maybe didn't need, or it's going to be kludgy at best. I know they do the same thing with the Mac Minis, and occasionally, just every so often, you can't get it on the Apple Store. Right. And you've got to go to media, and that becomes a pain. Yep. So that's an interesting theory because they're like Microsoft. Microsoft wanted desperately to get into video and TV, and they didn't do it that well. Right. In fact, they haven't really done it, and they didn't come out with a Microsoft TV or anything. But they're trying in some sort of way or other. I think they may have given up by now. But Apple seems to be really into the consumer market because that's where most of their money is. Right. I mean, the MacBook Pro, I thought getting rid of the 17-inch MacBook Pro was insane, too. Right. The 15's okay, but not everybody's got great eyes, and a 15-inch screen at 2500 resolution is a little hard on the eyes. Yeah, absolutely. That's a little small.
Yeah, wait till you see the 13-inch with that Retina display.
Oh, yeah, 2500 resolution on a 13-incher.
Little tiny. My 15 is old lady setup most of the time.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, when I had the MacBook Pro, I had it at 1280. That tells you how bad my eyes are. So, or maybe 1440 by 900, something like that. But
we record everything here at 1280. So I'm in the booth most of the time, or I'm on a prep machine, prepping for a course. So when I go to one of these machines that has this, humongous resolution, it's like, wow. And I'm not that old, but I really have to squint to see it sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, the resolution's good, but 2590 for fonts is really small. Yeah, it's teeny. I looked at the iPhone 5 the other day. I went to the store. I went to one of the Apple stores in Thousand Oaks, and I've had, I think, 4 iPhones already. I was not motivated when I saw the 5. I was going, do I want to cut my contract, pay the penalty, and get a new one? I just wasn't into it. I just went, it's really thin. Right. I don't mind that part, but it's now narrow up. So they made it taller, and the videos don't quite look right on it. I don't know.
The new look is exactly why my husband wants one. He's all... I have to have one. I'm
everybody's
like, really?
Different.
Right.
Okay.
But I looked at the Samsung Note the other day, and I was going, that looks kind of cool. It's a little big, but I don't mind. I've got big hands. And it was kind of neat. A 5.5 or 5.7-inch screen. That's kind of cool. I don't know. I don't like Android that much, but on the other hand...
We couldn't possibly get a non-Apple product in our house because I think my husband would explode. He's like practically a zealot.
Yeah.
Oh, how funny.
I am to a point, but the more and more that I watch these announcements, the less Kool-Aid I tend to drink.
Yeah.
these days, because it just seems like they're falling short on what the expectations are, or at least my expectations are, because I think we were so enamored by what the iPhone was when it was released in 2007, and they've struggled to recapture that magic ever since.
Yeah, and they haven't done it.
Yeah, ever.
At least I don't think they've gotten there yet. The iPhone 5 is nowhere near as nice as the Android phones in terms of the nice, like the Samsung Galaxy 3 or the Note or the Nexus. There's a Nexus that's really nice out there right now.
Right.
And it doesn't look as nice.
Right. The problem is that, and this is why I told people, because everybody's asking, well, if you have so many complaints about it, why don't you switch? Well, the problem is we're so entrenched in the iOS ecosystem.
It's the apps. I know.
You can't get out.
That's the whole thing. Well, you can. I had an
Android. Pull you back in. It's like like the Godfather.
Well, for about 5 months, I had an Android Motorola Bionic, piece of junk phone, by the way. I can tell why they disconnected it in no time. Anyway, the Bionic was okay, and I found apps that let me play iTunes, let me do everything like I did with the iPhone. Not as well, but it wasn't bad. But I missed the quality of the apps.
Sure.
The apps were way better. If I want a field recorder, I can get the Fire, the field recorder from Fire 2, which is it's almost as good as having a Zoom or some other kind of device. This thing is really good right on your iPhone or iPad. And there's nothing like that for Android. When you get to any kind of pro apps, goodbye, they're gone. You just don't have any. Nobody's invested in it. And go ahead.
Sorry. I think one of the things might also be that once you have an experience that's relatively seamless, the idea of changing and learning the new procedure is a little off-putting.
Sure.
And they are different.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to think, and that's part of it. When with my iPad or my iPhone, I just want something, I go get it, it's seamless, I start using it, and my business partner Dave has a completely different phone, and I go to use his phone, I have to actually stop and think. Yep. And that's kind of sad, but it's true.
Yep.
Like,
same way with me. I have to do, we just did the course on Instagram, and we had to show it on both operating systems, Android and iOS. And so the movies where I was in iOS, I flew through them in the production. And the movies when we were on Android, it was like, all right, take 37, here we go again. Because I just didn't know where to go or what to do. And it's because I haven't touched it.
Now, have you noticed that the new Jelly Bean, I guess is the latest one, is much more iOS-ish?
Yeah.
Which I liked better. When I saw the Jelly Bean on the Note, I went, oh, that's not too bad. Right. That's starting to look like a good OS. The previous versions were really kind of kludgy. They look like Unix hacks. If you've ever worked on a Unix operating system, it looks so much like a Unix hack. It's like, no, this is wrong. Let's take the engineering out of it and let's go back to something useful.
Right.
I think Jelly Bean's getting there. I think they're going, why aren't we? They're selling a lot of phones. Samsung is actually outselling, at least as a first quarter this year, they outsold the iPhone 4S with their Galaxy 3. They sold something like 50 million units. That's a lot of phones.
Yeah.
So Samsung, and aside from the fact that Apple and Samsung are suing each other all over the place, which is hilarious, they're both suing each other for patent infringements.
Right.
And they both provide each other lots of products. So I know it's kind of odd. But I guess
eventually everybody's going to take from each other, and it's going to be becoming more and more alike over time.
It is.
Oh, yeah. There's only so much you can do with a candy bar sized phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Apple has patents on rounded icons, for crying out loud.
I know.
Are you kidding me?
I know. I don't know how they got away with those or who allowed that kind of. It's really. You can patent a certain amount of software, but you really can't patent that much because there are things that the libraries you buy with your programming languages all look the same.
Right.
And you can modify graphics, but they get a little crazy. Now, there was a lawsuit now about the bouncing icon at the bottom.
Yep.
And I think Samsung's suing on that one. I'm not sure who was suing on that one.
Samsung's also suing for 4G connectivity of the iPhone 5 because they had a 4G phone before Apple did.
Interesting.
And I was like, seriously?
Yeah, really?
If nothing else, this is such an indictment on how busted the patent system is in this country.
That's true. Well, you know what it is. The people patenting don't really understand software.
Yes, that's absolutely true.
Or hardware for that matter, or tech. It's an old system, and I don't think it's been updated that much in probably 40 years.
Yeah, probably not.
And so as a result, I remember Microsoft having all those lawsuits because of things that because they did some stupid stuff too, where they would put code that if you had a certain browser, they would slow you down. It was such a stupid thing. And they get caught. It's like, oh, that was brilliant. But yeah, so it's going to be interesting. They got rid of FireWire on the iMac, which if you do any kind of audio work or even video work, now you don't have place to hook up some of the cameras or a lot of the audio equipment.
Yep.
They're forcing all of the vendors to either go through, well, there's not even a cable. You can't even do a cable anymore. Line in is gone, so you can't connect a quarter inch or an XLR to a 3.5 millimeter pin to go into a line in. You're kind of hosed.
Yeah.
How do you get your sound in?
It's a push for their Thunderbolt stuff, right?
I know.
They want people to develop peripherals for that, but
Yeah.
Is there going to be a Thunderbolt adapter so that everybody plugs into the adapter?
I don't know. If they do, it'll cost you another $100.
But Thunderbolt is now available on, I think, 3 Windows motherboards.
Oh, interesting.
So Asus had one already. I believe Gigabyte now has one. And there are, I think, 2 more coming out. So they're all going to have Thunderbolt. What's interesting about Thunderbolt that a lot of people don't realize? The drives are no faster than any other. They're all 7,200 RPM drives.
Right.
Just like the ones you have in your laptop and your desktop. The cable is where the smarts are.
Exactly.
There's about 5 chips on the end of each of those cables, and that's how they get the super blazing speed. It's basically one big ass buffering system.
Yep.
So it's pretty cool. I was wondering, why does it cost $50 for a cable?
Yeah.
It's got smarts in it.
Yep.
Oh, there already is an adapter for Ethernet.
There is.
Oh, nice.
Ethernet?
$30.
Ethernet?
$30.
A Thunderbolt,
$30 for just Ethernet.
a Thunderbolt Ethernet?
Thunderbolt to gigabit Ethernet adapter
How odd. That's interesting.
Yeah, it is
on the Apple Store.
Why would you need that? Because basically you have, well, it depends, I guess, what machine, but all the machines have a network connector usually.
Oh.
Usually, yeah.
Oh, there's also a FireWire adapter too.
Oh, there is?
Oh,
Thunderbolt to
that's good.
FireWire.
Oh, good. Because
That's good.
we have equipment, for example, like Persona's Studio Project. They're multi-channel preamps. We can't play them on anything other than the Mac Mini right now with the way they're going.
Yep.
So that's.
I found that interesting. They kept FireWire on the Mini of all machines.
You know why? A lot of people use them as sound machines.
Oh, okay.
Which is what we just started doing. We got rid of a really quiet Windows sound machine,
Right.
and we replaced it with a Mac Mini server, and it plays beautifully. Our sound quality is better than it was on the Windows machine.
Nice.
I was actually shocked. And we're going in through FireWire, I think it's 400.
Right.
From the Personas right into that, jitter-free, clean, no popping. I'm just amazed at how clean it sounds. So I think that may be the only reason they left that in there, because there's a lot of musicians who use the Mac Minis for mixing.
Right. Wow.
Kind of weird what they think about. But on the other hand, you may want to use, sometimes you may want to use something like, I guess you won't. I mean, do you really want to do your mixing on an iMac? You could.
Yeah.
It's kind of big, and
Yeah.
it is a little hot. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm hoping that with the new one, with the way they have it set up, isn't as hot, because the screen's it's larger, but it's a lot thinner. Maybe they
Did you see the
something.
bottom of it? The bottom of it is all vents.
Oh, it is. So now they put it on the bottom.
Yeah, the bezel on the bottom, like if you go to apple.com and look at the picture, the bottom is all vents.
Versus the top.
Yeah.
So they switched. Oh, that's interesting.
Wait, that's going to mean that the heat is coming. I'll feel the heat more.
You're going to feel it more towards your hands now.
Well, you're in New England. You need all the heat you can get. Right?
Okay, busted. Fair enough.
There's a certain truth there.
There is. Well, I am the one wearing a sweater, so.
That's true. Well, we were 40 I don't know. We were 48 this morning.
It was pretty chilly here this morning.
48 for California. That's like Minnesota weather.
No, the funniest thing for me was last October I went to Adobe Max, and I brought, because I'm from New England, so I brought a
Right.
sweater and I brought a umbrella, because that's what you do. And it
Right.
rained, and you'd think every single person in LA had never seen rain.
I
And they were all
know.
freaking
I
out,
remember
and
that.
no one
when
had
it
ever
rained.
experienced cold, because it got mildly,
Yep.
it didn't get cold. It got less hot,
Right.
and Adobe Max was giving away these sweatshirts,
Yes.
and people were wearing them and kind of doing this huddling thing, like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna die!" It's like, really?
I remember
it's
that.
like it's like 58 degrees.
Yeah, and
What, are you kidding me?
and if you live in Minnesota, all you have to do is take a little power supply with you, plug an iMac into your seat, and sit on it.
But there is that.
You will be warm.
Well, the thing I loved about it though was I walked into the front area and there was these greeters basically saying,
Right.
"Welcome to Adobe Max, you're so wonderful." And I
Yes.
came in with my umbrella and this guy actually applauded me. I was so happy. He's like, "You are a genius," and I'm like, "Yes, I invented the umbrella. I'm so smart."
Well, okay. Remember, in California, at least Southern California, people don't even know how to turn on lights when it rains.
That's very true.
It's like rain. What does that mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, of course, they have tons of accidents. I remember one time I'm on the coast and this big, huge macho truck, the big ones with the huge wheels and about 16 feet up in the air. It was pouring, and we're driving at about probably 45 an hour. I mean, you really couldn't see that well. This guy passed us about 80, and about a mile down the road, he was upside down with cops on their way. We went, oh well, that's kind of to be expected.
Yeah.
No lights either, by the way. So yeah, it's kind of crazy out here. And
Luckily, though, Adobe Max is in March this year, so.
I thought it was in May
Oh, is it? I thought it was in March.
because it landed on top of my Adobe camp.
where are they holding it this year?
It's in LA again.
Oh, it is LA again.
Yep. It
Yeah,
is
I'm
LA
pretty
again.
sure it moved to May because I had
Yes,
to.
you're right. May 4th through the 8th.
Yeah, I had to move my my Boston camp to get out of Max's way, which was, kind of weird. I'm like, oh, something in LA is stepping on my event. All right.
Well, that's good to know it's in May. I have more time to prep now.
Are you going to be talking at that one?
Yeah, I'm doing a few sessions and 2 labs, I believe. So
Oh, awesome. Well, I'll make a point of coming to see you.
I'll be there.
If I don't meet you in person before then, I'll take you out to lunch.
Okay, sounds good.
Are you coming out to Max, Kirsten?
I am, but because of the new business that Dave and Pariah and I are doing, we're sort of trying to figure out how that's going to work.
Right.
Well, let me know when you're out here because we'll definitely get together.
That would be great. And I think Hannah actually said that she and I could grab dinner. So it's wonderful. I have this nice little social calendar.
Hey, I've got an idea. We should
Maybe.
all get together and go to dim sum.
I'll go.
That sounds fun. Have you been to dim sum ever?
I have not, but I'll go.
Oh, it's where you go to a Chinese restaurant
Love
and they come around with carts. And you choose, there's about probably 20 people running around with different carts.
Oh, nice.
And you choose all the different foods you want. They put you on a nice round table. It's actually really good.
Cool.
And it's more fun when you have a bigger group versus just 2 people.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because 2 people just can't eat out of that many carts. But
Right.
you can get a lot of variety if you get probably 4 or 5 or 6 people.
And you get
Oh, we
mystery
could
food.
Oh, you don't want to know what you get. That just kind of defeats the whole purpose.
Yeah, you don't ask. Well,
Don't ask.
We got a question from the chat pod, by the way.
Yes.
Okay.
Jeff wants to know what great things are happening with Lynda.com.
A lot of great things are happening with Lynda.com. What kind of great things would you like to know? I'll tell you what I can anyway, if you have any specifics.
What can you tell without getting, the little red dot?
Well, let's see here. I'm not real sure what I can talk about, to be honest with you. But we're still developing course plans for 2013. We've got a lot of stuff on the roadmap. I know my personal roadmap has close to 10 courses on it for next year already, and that's just in the first 2 or 3 quarters. So I think you'll see a lot more production if that's at all possible.
You're going to increase production?
Yeah, it looks that way.
How many instructors do you guys have?
Well, in-house, we don't have that many. I'm one of, I think, 5 or 6 people that are actually on staff here. I am the only staff author that lives in California. So,
Interesting. Really? Nobody else does?
Yeah. No, all the rest of the staff authors, let's see, James Williamson, he lives in South Carolina. Ray Villalobos lives in Florida. Simon Allardyce lives in Arizona. Garrett Chow lives in Pennsylvania.
Oh, and I thought they were all here.
Nope, they're not.
That's
I'm the
funny.
only one, which is both a blessing and a curse for me because now I'm the in-house guy for a lot of stuff. But that's fun though. So I get to do like hand modeling and voiceover and things like that all the time.
That's cool.
But yeah, I think what you'll see is keeping up with all the emerging technologies as best we can. trying to record as fast as we can and get it out even quicker than we've been doing it before. We're focusing more on, I think, short form than long form classes. I think my personal opinion is if I can keep my courses under 2 to 3 hours, people tend to watch them more.
Okay.
So that's my personal goal, is to kind of keep my classes a little shorter. I did a couple this year. One of them was almost 9 hours long. Wow. And that's almost too long to ask somebody to sit in a seat and listen to you speak.
Which one was a 9-hour class?
Illustrator Essential Training.
Wow, so that's really in-depth with Illustrator.
Yeah, but Essential Training for Illustrator, that would take 9 hours.
Yeah, it is. And
it really would.
But what we're thinking about is maybe splitting that up.
Okay.
And so we'll see, where that goes. Again, this is just kind of talking, but for the most part, I think, like I said, we're just going to try to refine our processes a little bit and get things moving. Not that they don't run smooth already, but get them moving even more smooth than they do now. We're going to try to get creative, I think, with the way we produce courses, too. If you look at some of the things we're doing around photography right now, some of the photography courses are amazing.
I love the mini webinars you guys do. There's mini video shooting courses, small kind of 10 to 30 minute courses on how to shoot, for example, DSLR video.
Yes.
And those are great. They're
Absolutely.
great. They're bite-sized. They're full of, chock full of information, and they don't take up 8 hours, like you said. And so it's easy. You can sit down, make a commitment to it, and you're done.
Yep.
So I think that is a good idea, going to the smaller courses. We live in an increasingly ADHD society.
Absolutely.
Nobody has any time.
No.
It's kind of crazy sometimes, but it's people don't have time to just sit and go through a whole thing. We actually have an intern in-house right now, and she's wonderful. She's one of the few people I could go, here's your lynda.com, sign in, go for it. She takes the courses from beginning to end, loves it, takes notes. I go, wow.
Right.
She's one of the first we've had that just loves Lynda, to the point of we always offer it to everybody. And very few take us up on it. Some do, but most just go, right. And it's like, man, you got so much you can learn here. Yeah,
absolutely.
I've got about 40 courses on my queue, so it's like, well, maybe one day I'll get to them. I don't know. I need to take a vacation just to take some Lynda courses, but there's so much stuff to learn, and you guys have great trainers on the whole. I think most of the people are really good, and it's just fun. There's so many different things.
There are a few people who perhaps could put some life into their voices.
Some of them,
but luckily they don't have a lot of titles.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. The people that the audience responds to are the people that we tend to bring back, I think. And we get feedback on a daily basis, from all around the world on people, what we could do better, what instructors they like, who they don't like, things like that. I'm privy to the people who review my courses, so I get feedback on mine, good, bad, or indifferent. I always enjoy getting that feedback, and so I encourage anyone who's, a member of the site to please leave feedback on my courses, especially, because I want to know what I can do better. And, we're always trying to evolve and do things. Yeah,
and you're a good trainer. You're actually a very good trainer, and you have good presentation skills. And, from when you did your own stuff to doing the Lynda stuff, I think you're just equally good on both of them.
Yeah. So. It's been an evolutionary process for me. If you go back and watch the very first episode I did of the Photoshop podcast, I had a really almost like a thick Kentucky accent, and that's where I'm from. So it doesn't surprise anybody that I had that. But now I don't have that anymore. So I've tried to get a little bit more clarity in my speech and things like that. So I've certainly evolved as a trainer, but it's all been through trial and error, really.
I would say the only difference I've heard between your first ones and now, you're smoother now. Your vocal ability is smoother now, whereas I think in the beginning you were probably getting used to it, getting used to the mics and just getting out there. And plus, I don't know how many retakes you did. Your stuff just sounded like you were very natural teaching it without doing a lot of retakes. It looks like they were almost live.
Yeah, they are. I don't in my podcast shows. I don't rehearse. I tend not to script. I have the ability to just kind of speak what I'm doing, and
it showed. But it was good because it showed you did know your stuff, and it showed that it was just a natural dissemination of knowledge, and I thought that was really good. And I think on the Lynda stuff you've done the same thing. It's just very natural. Now you guys are more scripted, I think, but it still comes out very natural.
Yeah, my process at Lynda, as an author, we get to kind of pick the way that we do things. So you're not required to script here at Lynda at all. There are people who do better off script than on script, and vice versa. When I first got here, the first course I did was WordPress, like on WordPress multi-site, and I didn't script. I put down highlight points, and that course went well, but it didn't go as smooth as I would like it to go. So from then on out, I started the system which I do now. And so basically what I do is I developed a table of contents. From the table of contents, I then develop exercise files, assets, whatever we need for the course. And then I sit down and I write scripts for all of it. And then I always tell people that you'll notice the week before I record a course, I'm never in the office. And that's because I'm at home learning my lines.
Practicing, yep.
So I go home and I run through the course at least 2, 3, 4 times. And I go through all the practice exercises, make sure it's all good, and I learn the scripts almost verbatim. So that way when I'm in the booth, I set up an iPad and I have the scripts there if I need them, but I basically just go sort of off the cuff. I've got it in my head what I need to do, but I can make it sound a little bit more conversational and natural rather than just reading. But if I needed that bullet point, like, oh, what was I supposed to say there, I can just quickly look at it and get it.
Now, do you use something like Prompter on the iPad?
No, I actually I have a Google Doc.
Oh,
and I have the Google Doc up, and most of my scripts I try to keep 1 to 2 pages. That way, it's just a quick flick between them, and I can pretty much go from there. But when we're on live action sets, we do use a prompter for that, which is probably my favorite thing that I get to do here. I love being on camera doing the prompter stuff. I find that to be really fun. A lot of people hate it. I love it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm not a good prompter reader only because my eyes aren't that good. So if the prompter's too far, I'm squinting.
I got another question.
Yeah.
And actually, I have a question too, so I'll give you this one. Do you do courses on things you know, or do you learn new software and then create a course, or both?
That's really a good question. We do courses here that are based on a course roadmap that we have, and based on author's expertise, either that'll be delegated to that author or they'll ask them to learn it if they can. So for instance, we had an author who was lined up to do something on Magento, and the author couldn't make it out, couldn't record the course. We needed to get it in the library, so they asked me, could I learn this system and then teach it? And so I, spent a couple of weeks, I think it was like 3-4 weeks, something like that, really getting it down, nailing it down, and then I recorded the course for Magento. So I do courses that I'm not really familiar with the subject matter on from time to time, but most of the time I try to stay, quote, in my wheelhouse, if at all possible. Because we have very short windows a lot of times between courses, so making sure that you're up to speed is a necessity.
Are those windows going to get a lot shorter with Creative Cloud? I mean, is that really messing you guys up?
It's not. I don't think it's messing. I don't think it's messing too many of us up. From a production standpoint, it is a headache because we're always having to revise things in our library and always having to add things to it. Adobe has been very gracious in the fact that they allow us sort of to know things maybe a little bit ahead of time, things like that, and they're really good about informing us about what we need to stay current on as we go. And so the thing that we've decided is we don't have to necessarily have these Creative Cloud updates day and date when they ship, as long as we're within a certain window of time. We're pretty much okay, because not everybody is on the Creative Cloud yet, so it's not exactly like people are beating down the door to get these updates. And most of the time, the updates are very minuscule anyway. I mean, the recent updates that were released for Illustrator, I wouldn't call them game-changing features. They're nice, they're cool, but they're not anything that's going to make my entire workflow just all of a sudden go, oh, thank you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, no, and go ahead. Sorry.
Go right ahead.
Well, because I'm a trainer and have to basically prep stuff and do it.
Right.
The Creative Cloud thing I think is wonderful, but as a trainer, it's like, okay, wait a minute. Every time I go into a classroom, there might be some people with new material and some people with old material in the same room.
Right.
Lovely. Thanks a lot.
That's a challenge. And I wrote a big piece. I never actually published it because I was reined in from actually pushing the publish button on it. But I wrote sort of a rant on the Adobe Creative Cloud when it was first announced, because when they first announced it, they had all these promises that they weren't delivering on. For instance, they said DPS Single Edition would be a part of it. They said that they would have a quote-unquote enterprise or team-ready solution ready to go. and all this stuff. And at the time, we were about 6 months in, and they hadn't delivered on any of this stuff. And so I was like, okay, so not only have you fragmented your customer base by doing this split between Box Software and Creative Cloud, but you've also promised on a lot of things you haven't given us. And therefore, I don't find this subscription to be any more beneficial necessarily than owning the box copy. Since then, they have done DPS Single Edition. It's available now as part of the Creative Cloud. Supposedly, Team Ready is going to drop sometime this year. We'll see if that ever happens. But it's an interesting model for me because I think they should have gone one way or the other. They should not have split it because of the fact that you don't know how much of your audience has box copy versus Creative Cloud. And for people who are working in teams, you shouldn't have said that you have a team solution when you don't.
Right. Well, they did something else that's really idiotic. And we ran into this right up front. If you have more than one copy of the Creative Cloud, you cannot have more under one email address. So if you're a company and you have them all under one email address, they all expire in 30 days and you can't renew them. Exactly. And so half your people are screwed, which happened to us. It took us, 3-4 hours on the phone to finally get it straightened out. And then that happened for 3 months straight. Every damn month on the phone trying to fix the problem. And then we finally went to just multiple email addresses, which is just a pain. So you've got to keep track of 7 or 8 email addresses for no reason.
Yeah, some of my products don't exist on the cloud yet. And I'm hoping that they, like Captivate, I'm hoping goes to the cloud at some point, so all my stuff will be there. Right. But I think they're moving away from boxed product. That's my understanding.
They are.
Absolutely. Yeah, my understanding is within the next few versions you won't have box copies anymore, and if that's true, then that's great. I think if that's how you want to go, then go that way. It's the wishy-washy stuff that I don't agree with.
Well, Adobe will always do whatever Apple does a year later.
That's good.
Okay, so Adobe's coming out with TV? Oh, they have Adobe TV.
They have Adobe TV, but they'll probably come out with a box at one point, and then Google does whatever anybody else does about 3 years later. So I think that's kind of where things are going industry-wide right now.
Right.
I don't want to see an Adobe phone. I don't. I'm sorry.
I don't want to see
it. It will talk to you with an Indian accent.
Yes. The help desk would be right there in my phone.
That's right.
It'll be completely Flash-based and not running.
And it won't run any iOS software.
No, but here, the big challenge here, they were releasing cloud updates and things like that, and we have what's called Creative Cloud Team Ready here in the building, but that doesn't give you access to the Creative Cloud updates yet. So when they released this new update for Illustrator, basically what I had to do was deactivate my personal machine, jump into a recording booth, uninstall, reinstall, and then reactivate my Creative Cloud subscription inside the booth, and then record. It was only 2 movies that I did.
Right.
So this took like 3 hours to do 2 movies. That's insane.
It is.
And so, what we've done now is we've set aside, because we've got, 14, I think, booths total or something like that. And so instead of, deploying the cloud to all of them, because we can't, we've set aside 2 or 3 booths that we now have single licenses for to do this. And, that's kind of a pain because everybody's always rotating booths. So now we have these, couple of booths that are just the cloud booths. So, and I can't imagine, it's easy for us. We do video. I can't imagine what people who are writing books. I can't imagine the headaches.
Well, the book
you
really
market.
Need
to talk to Pariah about that.
Yeah, I've heard him talk about Facebook, and that's enough.
Have you noticed how the book market has pretty much? You go to any Barnes and Noble, it's dwindled in technical books to just about nothing.
Yeah.
Whereas before, you had 4, let's say 8 rows of technical books. Now you've got 1.
Yeah.
And you just go, and you can still find a lot on Kindle or Nook, but they're not printing that many in hard copy anymore because things change too quickly.
Yeah, exactly. And I also think that, so if we're going to go away from this physical model of books, like if they're just going to phase out the printed version of the book because stuff is iterating so fast, then what I think you're going to have to do is you're going to have to stop doing, I don't think the EPUB versions of it are going to be very successful either because of the fact that they're so non-engaging. If I had a book where I can actually physically turn a page, that's engaging to me, whereas a Kindle or something like that is not very engaging to me at all. So what I think you're going to have to do is you're going to have to provide me with some sort of experience, almost like an iBooks experience where you have integrated video and text or something like that, where you can actually engage the user in some sort of interactive.
Well, isn't that what iBooks is doing? Kind of. They're heading more that way, which makes sense, though it's so Apple.
Yeah, it's
the Apple ecosystem, and they're very closed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very closed, and I don't necessarily agree with that model either. I think someone needs to develop some sort of universal standard. I mean, I think you know the new versions of EPUB will support HTML5 video eventually.
Interesting.
Already, and so once you are able to do HTML5 video inside of an EPUB document, that's going to change the game completely, because then you have not only the written word, but you also have the interactive video portion of it. And devices like Kindles and things like that are going to have to keep up with that.
That'll be interesting. That'll actually be a good thing for the whole industry.
Absolutely.
You know, what was it? Amazon bought Stanza, which was probably the best reader at the time, and then just killed it.
Yep.
I don't even think they use it anymore. I think it's still out there, but you can't find any books for it. It's odd. But yeah, interesting world. Publishing isn't what it used to be.
No, not at all.
And
No way.
you know, and you know what? I look at things like the first place I go nowadays, because I have a Lynda subscription. If I want to learn a product, I go right to Lynda. If it's technical, I'd say 7 out of 10 times I can find it on Lynda. And lately it's been more like 8 out of 10 times. So a lot more stuff is getting out there. And that's what I love. You guys are now branching into other areas that are just not the graphics and the video. You've gone to a whole mess of other different courses, which is good. It's giving people, because there's really no place to learn half this stuff unless you go to either extremely expensive classes, which they may not even teach. The vendors may have classes, and then you're paying $2,000 for one class. You know, and I keep telling people, you know, Lynda subscriptions are like $250 a year, $300 a year or more if you get all the sample files. That's nothing.
Right. You think about that compared to, let's say, if you went to a local community college and took a class. I mean, that's
$80 to $100 for one class. And it's at a very slow pace, and you've got to be there with an instructor who usually barely knows the product. My wife and daughter went to a Photoshop class recently at one of the local events somewhere in Thousand Oaks, and the instructor was okay, but they said he didn't know that much.
Right.
And I kept telling him, why don't you go on Lynda? They go, we don't want to see movies. We want to be that. Go, no, you're not getting it. Go on Lynda. And when they got back, you know what they did? They went on Lynda.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what Lynda's really good for, actually, is to support some blended learning models.
Yes.
Because I've worked with people, you know, I'll have folks who want to hire me, but they can only do chunks of me working with them virtually. So I've put them on a Lynda subscription and assigned them chapters. And then we work together one-on-one on the material they've learned, so they can ask a human questions and they can kind of sound it out, and I can tie it to their workflow. But they also have that chance to work independently.
That's real clever.
That's awesome.
Thank you. It works really well. It's great, because it's weird when you give adults homework, because they always react a little bit like you're kidding. Like, no.
However, if you have seen Kirsten in action live, you will do the homework, or she could get angry.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and you wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
She had 200 people at the last Adobe camp cringing in fear when she did her Photoshop update and release.
Oh no!
Sit down. We're not done yet, everybody.
They weren't cringing in fear.
You don't know that. We were in the balcony away, fearful. No, you were great.
They were laughing. They were laughing when I was presenting.
No, Kirsten's a very good presenter.
I need to come out to one of your Adobe camps. I've always wanted to go.
Do,
I've never been to Boston, so.
Oh, June.
Send him
7th.
the info. Recruit him now.
7th, 2013. Come to Boston.
All right.
To Boston.
Not to mention, Boston's a fun city.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been all around it. I've never actually been in it.
Boston's a lot of fun. Well, if you come, make sure you stay for several days so we can kind of show you everything.
Okay.
Be good. Be really good. In the chat pod, by the way, Jeff is mentioning the difference in prices between the States and is that Australia?
He's in Melbourne, Australia.
Yeah. His cost for the master collection, we pay $2,100. He pays $4,700.
Oh, geez.
For the same suite.
Wait, $2,100? That's only if you buy non-cloud. If you buy the master collect, if you buy the Creative Cloud, it's only they were running that special for $29 to $39 a month, or $49. That's really cheap. That's only about $550, less than $600 a year. That's way better than $21 or $2,500. It was $2,500 here at one point.
Huh.
And
I think the cloud is also priced differently there too. But I'll have to. I'll ask.
It's more. I think they're closer to about $100 a month versus our $39 or $49.
Right.
You know what? They have to pay.
Oh, see, $69 for him.
Yes, but Jeff, they're paying a kangaroo tax. You have to understand that.
That's not kind.
I'm seeing Jeff in about 4 days, so he'll take it out on me on that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss him. I'm gonna be leaving Vegas just as he's coming in.
What time? Do you know what time you're leaving at?
Yeah, Tuesday at 11
Oh, I won't see you either. 11 in the morning or night?
in the morning.
Oh, shoot.
I should have just sucked it up and said no. I really want to see everybody. I'm gonna stay a couple extra days, but I was so freaked out about the idea of spending the money to stay extra days that I didn't.
Oh, you should have.
Now I know.
You should have.
Vegas isn't cheap anymore.
No,
that's for
not
sure.
like it used to be.
No, and
No.
I'm still over the moon that Adobe's actually like bringing me out and giving me some
No,
money.
they're really good about that. They're actually real decent. They'll pay 2 days at least, and I think they'll fly you out too. So they're real decent about that. So
Yeah. So it'll be fun.
yeah, you'll be one of the people at ALS who probably really knows what they're doing, which is good.
I can't call it ALS because I
know.
have a medical background. I can't. I have to call it Adobe Learning Summit. I cannot. It should not be a horrible disease in my mind.
Now you'll have a lot of fun. You'll probably see Joe Gonchi and Leva and some of those people over there.
Lev and I are having dinner.
Cool. That's great.
So anybody who's in Vegas next Monday, come to Adobe Learning Summit. Come find me.
She will be
I'm
there.
presenting at 1:30 with Alan. So.
And at 11 o'clock, she's gone. So that's your only opportunity.
Yeah.
Oh, and Alan Partridge is fun. You'll have a good time with him.
He's been a trip. I'm presenting with someone I've never met.
Oh, you've never met Alan?
Never.
Oh,
And
you know what? The minute you meet him, you'll think you've known him for 10 years.
I called him on the phone. I was like, Dr. Partridge, I'm presenting with you. And he's
Dr.
like,
Partridge, yeah.
Dr. Partridge?
Alan
like,
is a great guy. I've spent quite a few hours and lunches and stuff with him. He is really a wonderful human being.
It'll be very
You'll
cool.
you'll love him, and he's very creative. The guy is he's really got a sharp mind. Lots of good stuff come out of Alan.
He's a smart puppy.
Not to mention he's a very good digital artist. He paints some incredible stuff in Photoshop.
Ooh,
Takes him
check.
about 2 to 3 months to do one of his paintings. They're
Cool, I'll
they're
have to-
they're really nice.
Cool. Well, at some point, Justin, you and I will be in the same place, maybe both presenting
At some point, yeah.
at some point.
Well, guys, we are about at the end of the show. We've been going for about almost 50 minutes. So I think we're going to have to probably wrap it up. But Justin, we would love to have you on again. We can maybe
Sure.
focus more next time because this time we just kind of got to know you better and have people find out who you are if they don't already know who you are. And talk about some other subjects and photo. We haven't even really touched on Photoshop and all the stuff that you're just a master in. So this was fun. It was a great introduction. I'm so glad we had a chance to have you come on, and
Yes.
and it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Kirsten, we will see you. Actually, next week we're off because we're all going to be gone and traveling. So we will be back the week after, and stay tuned for more fun guests and good shows. So for everyone there, if you're in the chat room, thanks as always for being there. And Jeff, I was only kidding about the kangaroo tax. We know it's a Tasmanian devil tax.
Uh-oh.
But anyway, I used to like Taz. Taz funny. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe. We look forward to having you on and watching us some more. So anyway, have a good one, everybody, and we will see you next week on eMediaChat.
Bye, all.
Bye.